What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video where I've got a lot of information coming your way over the new unit alloy set that is coming to the game. So don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Right, okay, this has taken me down an absolute rabbit hole. I've recorded this video multiple times and I finally decided to stop digging. Otherwise I could be going on forever and ever and ever. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the scenarios and what gear we have. So they're adding some new toys to the game. It's this brand set here, as I've just mentioned, unit alloys. One piece gives us rate of fire, 2 piece gives us 20% assault rifle damage, and 3 piece gives us 50% magazine size. We also get perfect obliterate on the chest piece, and on the holster we get a rate of fire bonus. So not only do we get the 5% here from the brand set bonuses, we can get a further 8%. And that seems really powerful to me just looking at it. But when I've done the maths, it's not actually as crazy as what I actually thought. And a lot of it does depend exactly on what you are running. It does fit quite nicely into the current kind of red strikers meta gear that we do have. So let me go over some scenarios and hopefully I touch on a build that you run or you want to run. I haven't included Tinkerer in any of these, otherwise I would be going on for absolutely ages. However, I have included Overdogs in some of the builds because they're incredibly powerful and incredibly easy to use. So this would be what you would class as a couple of years old build at this point now. Strikers kind of meta assault rifle build. We've got a chest with obliterate. You could perhaps think about running perfect glass cannon here, and I do cover that a little bit later in the video. And we've got a Fenris holster because we're going to base this on running a Lexington. I'm not going to include the damage numbers from Killer. I did try it on the maps before. It doesn't make much of a difference, and therefore I thought best to exclude it because it gives you guys the option to put whatever gun talent you want on at that point, and it didn't make any difference to the positioning of how the builds ranked, which I'll go over in just a little while. So then we start to move through our builds. Now I've got a couple of builds I'm going to just show you straight away off the rip that are kind of obscure builds that don't make it into the list, and I'll talk about that now. That is build number 9. So that was Overdog gloves with a Fenris holster, because basically the unit alloys holster just outpaced this build only by a little bit. I think it was about 2%, so it wasn't anything to write home about, but definitely not worth including in the rotation of builds I'm going to show you because there is enough. And then we've got build number 10 where people have been talking about using the ninja bike. Now build number 10 for me just wasn't worth it at all, and I'll talk about why. So obviously in the Lexington, for instance, we're going to get an extra 25 bullets in the magazine because we are going to get that 50% magazine size. That does seem pretty generous, and it might be pretty generous when it comes to LMG builds and other things like that. This is very much going to be a video focused around assault rifle because of the 2-piece bonus, but that again, that's a conversation for a different video. But there is quite a bit of a substantial drop off. So this is actually 8% less in burst damage than the very first build that I showed you that is ancient. You know, the Cheska Fenris combination. And everything else in the video I'm going to show you, spoiler alert, outperforms this combination. So for me, losing 8% burst damage for the sake of 25 extra bullets in the magazine, extending the sustain a little bit of the build, in this case of this scenario, with an assault rifle, absolutely is just not worth it. It just really doesn't swing with me, and I just won't ever run it. So let's get into the builds that I've talked about. All of these builds are capped out. All of them are 56% crit chance, apart from the Fenris build, which is 58, with as much critical hit damage that I can then stack on. You can see the Lexington's capped out at 30 expertise for all builds, just to make it fair. I could have done this at 0 or 30. Again, they would have paced exactly the same. But that's just everything that, you know, you can see for here. So that's build number 1. Then we've got build number 2, where we put the 2 brand new unit alloy pieces in to see how it paced out. Then we got build number 3, where we start to think about running things like the Overdogs. And what we've got to consider here is overdog damage is not always on if you don't play by the rules. But what is good about the overdogs, that if there's one enemy left and you're struggling, you're always going to know you're going to get that 30% burst damage or 30% extra amp damage in your build to help burst them down when you might be sweating a little bit, which is, yeah, I kind of like that. It's pretty much important to me as a build. Then we've got build number 4, where we swap out the holster for the new perfect obliterate chest piece with them. Then we've got build number 5, where we see that where does perfect glass cannons stack up with the overdogs. Build number 7, well, what about running the new unit alloys chest piece with just glass cannon, because it does provide us 5% extra rate of fire. Does it actually stack up to, you know, that to glass cannon? Then we can strip back to 20 intake of 5% less. Is it 5% less incoming damage? 10% less. 60 isn't it on the 60 on perfect. Not that I think that would make too much difference. Yeah, 60 on, but you know, here we are. So that's number 6. Build number 7 would be, well, what about running just glass cannon on the 2 unit alloy pieces, but including the holster back for the extra rate of fire bonus? Build number 8, perfect glass cannon with the named holster. But obviously these are all going to get compared against overdogs also. Build number 9, we're not going to talk about it. It didn't make the cut. We talked about this earlier on. Running the unit alloys holster is just better than a Fenris holster in this scenario with the striker's chest piece and overdog gloves. Build number 10 we don't like. And then last but not least, the build that I run day to day. This is my kind of go-to heroic build. The Cheska chest piece with obliterate and overdog gloves. And I wanted to include this because it's just kind of my go-to, right? That's just the one that I use. All right, so let's go back to build number 1, make some adjustments to the screen and pull up the stats. All right, so build number 3 comes in at first place with a whopping almost 58% more damage than the Cheska Fenris. But let's not hold that against it, because there is a certain scenario for this build. Obviously, it runs the striker's chest piece. That means we've got to get double the stacks than normal, because that's how it gets to the top of its stacks. But it does have a really good rate of fire, and it outperforms glass cannon. So for me, this was probably going to be my new go-to legendary build when playing in a group, because legendary will allow me to stack up them stacks to take advantage of the striker's chest. As long as you're getting over 50% in the stacks, you are getting more value and you're not having to worry about that incoming damage. So this is what places at first, and that was absolutely no surprise. Next up was build number 5. Again, no real surprise here. Perfect glass cannon still tops the charts when it comes to running them with the overdogs. It's a little bit lower when it comes to damage, so let's just kind of talk about a few little things here. So this is 33% more than Striker's Cheska Fenris combination, and it's around, what is that, 30, 40, 50, 20, 29% ish from the previous build that you saw as well. So it's a significant amount of damage, but you've got to remember that Striker's Chest needs a lot more investment for stacking up the stacks. So again, if you're with a healer in Legendary, this is probably going to be the one that's going to be your go-to. No surprise again here. The next one is the unit alloys chest rolled with glass cannon. Just thought I'd kind of check where this kind of came in. And it just comes in probably about 4% less than running perfect glass cannon. So absolutely, this build's just absolutely not worth it. You might as well just run perfect glass cannon and take advantage of the extra damage. And then in 4th place is going to be the build that I'll probably run the most, my day-to-day heroic build, my day-to-day kind of do anything build, and I'll just be taking advantage of the brand new named chest that gives me that extra rate of fire, and it also gives me perfect obliterate, and then it's paired up with the overdogs. And that just kind of makes sense to me. Just to give you a few numbers for this, it's actually almost 29% more damage than the original Strikers Cheska Fenris build that we saw at the beginning, which is great. I think that's pretty wonderful. But the question is, how does it compare to running Cheska Obliterate? Well, that's going to come in next. And there's quite a significant, well, not significant difference. It's around, well, what's going to do here? So 24. So this is 29, 5%. So it's actually an increase of 5% just by switching your Cheska chest with Obliterate out to the brand new named chest. They're giving us essentially a nice 5% boost for absolutely free next season. And obviously that rate of fire goes up as well, so it does increase our time to kill a little bit, which is just kind of nice. So as we've just talked about, coming in at a cool 5th place is the build that I use daily, Cheska chest with Obliterate and the Overdogs. We don't need to talk about this one too much. We've already kind of covered it, but the 4th place build is definitely going to be for me. So what came in next? So this really is where Overdogs slip out of the scenario if you don't want to run them. But it's going to be what, as expected, the 2 brand new unit alloy pieces come out on top, especially if you put in glass cannon. They're basically our next market leaders. Now, what's interesting about this is it's an 18% reduction in damage than just using the Overdogs with the perfect unit alloys chest piece. So if you get used to using Overdogs, you don't have to worry about you're going to do far more damage and don't have to worry about taking in any of that incoming damage that you get from glass cannon. So let's move on to the next one. Coming in at 7th place, we've got perfect glass cannon with the unit alloys piece. This was a little bit of surprise. I honestly thought this would come in above the previous one, but honestly, as you can see on the stats, there's less than 1% between them. So yeah, really not too much to worry about here. Probably just take the regular one so you can not have to worry about 10% extra incoming damage. And then as we slide lower down is running Strikers with the 2 brand new pieces. Now it sounds like when I'm talking about this now, coming in at 8th place, it sounds like, oof, that's really, really bad. And it's not actually as bad as what it sounds. So what we really would be comparing this to is the probably side-by-side Overdogs builds. And let's take, for example, this build we're looking at right now against the build that I run every day here, the Cheska with the Overdogs. And if we were to look at the stats, you can see the on the screen on the left-hand side, you're looking at a reduction of about 14%. Now, that's probably about, looking at the damage numbers, a difference in burst damage of around 1.5 million. So, yeah, it does sound like a lot, but the reality of it is we hit that hard with a bullet. You're probably talking, what, a bullet and a half? It's really not that much of a difference when it actually comes down to it. Yeah, it's not a huge amount. So you can, because you can see there, right? So when we're capped out on stacks and we've got the maximum bonus from the Overdogs and things like that, a head crit from, let's just get the right build up here. So a head crit from build number 11 is doing 1.2 million. Whereas if we scroll to build number 2, this is actually hitting for pretty much just shy of 1 million. So you're talking, you know, there's 200k there in it. So like I said, there is the percentages sound much harsher than what they actually are. There is not a lot in it. And then coming in at 9th place, right at the bottom, is our lonely little old school build from long ago. So like I said, I would definitely recommend, I'm gonna make the easy switch right to my build number 2, is it? No, where is it? Where are you? There it is. Build number 4 is going to be the one that is going to be my go-to. And then build number 3 will be my legendary go-to. There's not a huge difference in the numbers, but you've seen all the stats. You've seen all of the builds that I could possibly think of. There'll be a load of combinations that I forgot. So if you want any other combinations running, feel free, drop into my Discord, ask the questions down below, and I will answer as many as I possibly can. But yeah, there is not a huge difference. These new pieces slide in really, really nicely, and if anything, they're just a nice little upgrade for us to take into next season, especially when we're going to be losing some damage with that global modifier disappearing, and it doesn't look like the companion is going to be providing us with too much of a boost. We're really going to be reliant on him adding the extra damage to us, and I'm not so sure about that yet, but we'll see if I can get to testing that a little bit more before the end of the season. This has been a long video. It's been a lot to take in, but hopefully it's been helpful, making you, well, helping you decide what you're going to run next season. This is a very easy upgrade. Unit alloys to slot them in essentially, but not necessarily both the pieces. Overdogs still stand strong in the builds, especially, you know, with what's coming. And yeah, don't run the blacklisters and don't run the ninja buy backpack. I'll see you in the next one, agents. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.